Welcome to the Movies of the Damn podcast. My name is Kyle Grant, and I'm sitting here as always with my friend and published horror author, John Hunt. If you enjoy what you hear here today, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, check out our Facebook page, and follow us on both Instagram and Twitter at Damned Movies. Email us any questions, comments, and suggestions to moviesofthedamned@gmail.com. For further details on John's published works, please visit his blog, johnhuntfiction.wordpress.com. Today, we'll be discussing Taylor Richards' 2020 film, Hallowed Be Thy Name. The movie follows teenage Devin, who moves to a small town and soon joins two new friends on a trip to a cave that apparently grants wishes. Things soon go terribly wrong, though, as demon Koshmar begins terrorizing them and killing not only them, but the ones they love, one by one, until they all perish. Just to let everyone know, this movie came to our attention when Cody Clark, the CEO of Co-Minded Agency, reached out to us through Instagram on their account at Co-Minded Agency. After communicating back and forth and learning about the film, we thought we might as well check it out and give our honest opinion as always. So that's how we got here today. John, opening thoughts on the movie?
Yeah, I don't know where to start with this one. You never know what you're gonna get when some people reach out to you. We got Butterfly Kisses, like we've said this before. I really enjoyed that film, and Mothers of Monsters, and there's a few gems hidden in all these films that I never would have looked at unless someone reached out and asked us to look at it. Like I just wouldn't have. So you're kind of grateful to experience something when that comes along like that. Sadly, though, this wasn't one of those films. Not for me, anyways.
No, and it wasn't for me either. I would say that our track record has been fairly good for kind of having these independent films, like you said, recommended to us. I'd say it's almost about 50-50. Like 50 we've enjoyed and 50 we haven't so much. And unfortunately, yeah, this one would be on the downward side of that. Having said that, there were several sequences throughout this movie that I did enjoy, and we can get into. But for me, there was just overarching kind of plot and dialogue issues that, again, we can kind of get into that I couldn't shake throughout.
Yeah, I agree with that. I was at the beginning. I was like somewhat impressed with the filming, right? So they had some really good overhead shots. They had some. Like it didn't look like it was, it didn't look like it was an independent film, it looked like it had good production value. Like the filming looked really nice and the directing looked really nice, and even the actors, they did a good job, it's just, like you said, there's a lot of issues with progression, with plot, dialogue especially, and just not being able to get behind any of the characters. The characters, and it's not, I wouldn't say it's the fault of the acting. I'd say the characters were really two-dimensional, and almost all seemed to fall into some sort of cliche, That's what I felt anyways. You could have had a different feeling. So it was really hard for me to get behind
it's true.
it.
Yeah, it's true what you're saying, and just to piggyback off your first point there, I thought this was a visually good movie, and like you said, it felt like it had some production value to it. Right away, that opening scene, I actually really liked that opening scene, and it really creeped me out. That one camera angle was kind of from far away, and you see the boys holding lights, and then kind of the boy behind his light just all of a sudden goes out. Like that kind of made me jump a little bit.
Oh, so yeah, you know me, I don't really jump that often, so I didn't have
No,
any.
but I just thought it was a cool angle, like a cool camera angle.
Yeah, so yeah, and that's like, once again, like the people behind this, they had definitely some skills and some abilities here. I just don't think they were utilized very well uh, in relation to the dialogue and just the story progression itself, right? Like it was just, I don't know, just it's hard to like I want to say like I appreciate all the work that went into it. Like I do. I know what it's like. Like I'm a writer, so I know what it's like when you put yourself out there after you worked really hard on something and someone doesn't like it. Like it's hard not to take it personal, and um, I don't take it personal, but it's something that I had to learn. Um, but once again, it's like I looked at, okay, what was the person saying? Are they right? And if they're right, how can I improve from this? Or if they're wrong, why do I think they're wrong? And how can I improve from this? Right. So I'm not saying anyone needs to learn anything from me. I'm just saying that's the process I get when other people criticize the work that I've done. And I just think this film, I don't even know with the dialogue or even with the storyline that this film really had any potential. I will say the people filming the film, like the director and the shots that they took, they have potential. And the actors, like I said, I don't think they did a bad job. I think they also have potential. I'm just not too sure with the writing and all that stuff.
And you're right because you just come to certain sequences throughout the movie where like the dialogue it just unfortunately doesn't make sense. So
Mm.
a couple that I've noted here. The first one where I just like what is happening here, where Mum and him go to school on his first day to register him
Mm-hmm.
and he gets registered and he gets this lecture from the principal about having strict rules of the school and you got to be on time, kind of the stereotypical principal type thing. And then literally in the next breath, he asks his mom out in front of him. Like it just so nonsensical.
There's definitely that. There's just I found there was a lot of those. You know what I felt like I was watching sometimes a Degrassi Junior High horror film. That's what I felt with some of the dialogue and the way some of it fell flat, right?
Yeah.
Like the way like with the new guy at the locker, and then this guy coming up and saying, "Hey, what's your combination?" You don't know anyone, and you're giving the guy the combination to your locker, and then like the guy's being really nice to you. You don't even know him. Like it doesn't need, and then like they act outside after they meet. I forget her name. Sorry,
Yeah, yeah.
but they meet her and they're outside and they're all talking like they're friends, and he doesn't want to go to the cave, and she like openly berates him for not going to the cave or supporting. And I'm like, what is going on here? Like these people don't even know each other. Like usually you feel someone out before you start berating them. So just a lot of the transitions just didn't feel real. Like I don't know. Like I remember what it was like to be a teenager, and even though it was a long time ago for me, I still some of the fundamentals are the same, right? Like you're just learning how to be a person, right? You're learning about your self confidence, your self esteem. You're watching cues from other people. You're deciding, who you're gonna like based upon what you can rationally see as having a something in comparison with, or someone to talk to about, or something in common. Like there's all these things that you're doing that get more refined as an adult for some people, and some people not so much. But you know what I mean? Like I just don't. There's none of that here. It was just all awkward, jumping from scene to scene, and I know why they did it. It's to progress it to going to the cave. But like I don't even know why Devin had to be from another town. Like why was that necessary? Like why not have it all people that were already in that town, and they heard about this cave and they wanted to go? Like why? You know what I mean? Like why did he have to be an outsider? And then because then once you do it that way, you have to introduce a whole new complicated side of the story of trying to get him one into a group of friends and to be accepted, and two to get him to buy into what they're trying to sell him. Whereas if they all grew up together and they're already friends, you wouldn't even have that issue.
Yeah. No, no. I completely hear what you're saying. It's just like it almost muddied the water. It made things a little bit more complicated. And just to speak a little bit more to the scene that you were just talking about, where it was the three of them, the two guys and the girl, where she kind of approaches them and asks them to go to this cave.
Yeah.
And as you just said, Devin is new to town, so obviously he would have never heard of this cave before. But the other fella, her best friend, they grew up together. They've been in this town forever, but yet he has never even heard of this cave before. And it
Yeah.
seems like everyone else in town has, because it's kind of like the town folklore, like stay away from this thing, it's dangerous. But he hasn't even heard a mention of it.
Yeah. It's like
And
the.
so
Yeah. Sorry. Go
and
ahead.
I was just gonna say, because he's never heard of it, why wouldn't he just go to the stupid cave, sorry.
Yeah.
Like if I was in his shoes and it was presented to a friend who came to me and is like, hey, we're in this small town, there's nothing to do, you want to go check out this cave? Sure. Like it would have made much more sense if he had said back to her, oh, you know we're not supposed to go there, you've heard the stories about this thing.
Hmm.
But that wasn't the point. It was he never heard of it but just didn't want to go. And then as for Devin, the new kid, if you've just met new people in this new town and they're asking you to do anything, to do something, you're gonna say yes. There is
Hmm.
no reason for him to say no. I don't want to go to this cave.
Yeah.
Do you hear what I'm saying there?
No, I hear her, but I think there's even like I hear all of that, and I agree with it. But I think it's even more backtrack. Even the more fundamental aspects of that is just like these. So the guy and the girl are like really good friends, right?
Yeah,
Do you
best
see how
friends.
she talks to him? I was like, what is going on? Like it's not like how two good friends and they might braid each other and make fun of each other or whatever, but like she was all over this guy,
Oh,
like
she was an awful person, and
she
so
was a terrible person, and
that's
then
why you never rooted for her.
at no point did you root for her, but then he was okay with it, and then Devin's like going, yeah, whatever, like he's kind of involved in it but not involved. It was such an odd dynamic, like such an odd dynamic, and I don't think it worked at all. And then so she's like talking about, yeah, I just want you to come with me because my mom's dying of cancer. So she tells this huge lie, huge lie. And then he talks about it the next day at the cave. Like it's a day later. It's not a week, right? It's like the next day after school they're at the cave. And he's like, yeah, about your mom. She's like, what? What are you talking about? Right? Like she totally forgot this huge lie she just told him to get them to the cave. I was like, what is going on? Why would you even have that? So now it becomes, well, I had an abortion and my boyfriend didn't want me to have an abortion, so now I want him to not be angry at me anymore. Like that's why we're here for this wish. And I'm like, what is this? None of it made any sense to me. None of it.
And that speaks to what I said before, John,
Yeah.
where with the way things were presented, you didn't need a big lie.
No.
With the fact that they had no idea about the potential danger of this cave, they both would have gone. You
Hmm.
would have needed that lie, however, if they did know about, oh, this is a risky move. We don't want to. There's all these like this folklore about this and these warnings. We don't want to risk it. Where if that was the case, then you would have needed a lie to get them there. But I completely hear what you're saying.
It's just like it was just for those reasons it was kind of hard to watch. Like I got taken out of the movie so often because of these awkward sequences, and that's the last thing you want to happen is to be taken out of whatever story that you're being drawn into. You don't want ever that to happen. It's like they put all these little spikes and speed bumps that'll kind of like jar you out of the movie, and you're like, whoa, it didn't even need to be that way. Like you said, we both said ways in which it would have been more simple, less complicated, and for most parts, like if it's going to be complicated, it needs to be subtle. So that way, it's like you still follow the keep it simple, stupid principle, but at the same time, there's some subtle underlying things going on in the background that at the end you're kind of like going, oh, okay, cool, that makes sense because this and this and this. I don't like none of this made sense. Like why
No,
would they even?
it didn't. And then like so she knows that her best friend likes Devin,
Mhm.
but then sleeps with him anyways, even though the whole point of going to the cave was to get her boyfriend back.
That's not even like that's stupid for sure. But no, what's even more stupid? Her best friend just said, "Yeah, my sister was killed last night," and he runs off after because we took something from the cave, and look what happened. But Leah's dead. Like he told her, Leia's dead, Leia's dead. And then what do? They go back to her house and have sex. I'm like, what? Like your best. This is like your good friend. What the hell's going on?
Yeah. Yeah. I got nothing for you, buddy.
You know what I mean? Like I know what you're saying. Like yeah, she knows he's crushing on Devin.
Yeah.
Or she knows he's crushing on Devin. But I was like, that's secondary to what I think, anyways. Like your friend, like imagine your friend coming up to you and saying, "Yeah, my sister's dead," and you're like, "Yeah, cool. I'm gonna go sleep with someone you like."
Yeah, like
What?
right away. Yeah.
Like
She just
there was,
what
there,
yeah.
you know what I mean? Like there was no, like I don't even get it. And why was that even necessary? Why did you
Yeah,
have
it
to
just
have them? Like there's, I don't know what did, how did that aid the plot at all? How did that aid character development?
it
I don't get it.
really didn't, I guess.
Yeah, so I don't like why was it put in there then, right? Like what's that famous thing? I think I probably said it to you before is too. It's like kill your darlings or kill your babies, right? So it's
Yeah,
like
kill your babies.
yeah, so you know, you might like it, you might love that scene, you might have really like loved writing it and you might the filming was wonderful. There's something that you really loved about it. But if it doesn't make sense, get rid of it. Just get rid of
Yeah.
it, right? Like because like people will be scratching their heads and if you pull like I said, you don't want to pull your audience out of the narrative. And stuff like that pulls people out of the narrative. It did for me anyways. I had so many questions about all this stuff, like so many questions.
And unfortunately, buddy, I don't have answers for you. And that's kind of all these points that you've brought up is ultimately why, unfortunately, I can't recommend this movie, why I can't give it a thumbs up. But as I said, there are some really good sequences here. Like I did like that opening scene with the two young boys in the cave and they're kind of um, nothing characters who kind of get killed right away and are missing. But I really did like that scene as they're kind of trying to leave the cave one by one and their lights go out one at a time. I thought that was a really cool like directorial camera angle and just a good way to start the movie. But it didn't keep that good momentum going. And then on top of that, I have to say that I did enjoy the end sequence.
Okay.
So like when they're kind of all together in that
Yep.
house and they're trying to have, I don't know what you want to call it, like a seance or the exorcism, and this creature, and forgive me if I'm mispronouncing his name, he's a demon actually, Koshmar, is kind of terrorizing them. And it kind of reminded me a little bit of how Pennywise would terrorize them in It,
Mm-hmm.
kind of like use their biggest fear against them and how he was kind of manipulating them to like separate them from the group so he could strike them. I just thought that was kind of interesting.
I don't know. Like I've seen that a gazillion times. I've read that a gazillion times. Like you just mentioned it in Pennywise. I've seen it in Nightmare on Elm Street. I've seen it in like I don't know. To me, it's just like like I said, I don't like there. So I would agree. I would not tell anyone to watch this. I would not. Um, however, there are redeeming qualities, right?
Yeah,
But I
yeah, there
wouldn't.
are redeeming qualities, and there's things that you can learn from this movie. I brought this up before when you've been speaking with Ethan. Ethan wants to be a filmmaker, and I'm like, Ethan, you got to check out these independent films to see kind of what worked, what didn't work with a lower budget.
Oh yeah, and then like you know what I mean. Like he really enjoyed Mothers and Monsters and Butterfly Kisses. He thought those were great films, right? So,
Yeah,
especially with what they're doing, and I have to agree. But so like, with this, you know, like I said, there are like I think the director had some good sequences, some good shots. I think there's some of the special effects were pretty cool, man. Like with what they had to work with, it looked pretty cool to me, anyways. And and the acting, like some of the acting was bang on, right? Like the boy who was crushing on Devin, like he did a good job acting, man. Just I thought he did a really good job acting actually, and
yeah,
you know, I thought he was probably the best out of the bunch actually. But and once again, they all did fairly well. Like there's nothing, you know, other than like grandma, like talking about the cave, like what, like you know what I mean? Like I just don't. Some of the stuff I just didn't get. Like don't you go near, like, teenager 101. Don't tell teenagers not to do something. Why do
They're
they
gonna
do it
do it.
always in the movies? They always do.
Yeah.
Why does not anyone realize this yet? I don't get it. And then, like, especially then you don't tell them why, right? Uh, It just
Yeah.
makes some of this stuff just doesn't make sense, man. It doesn't make. I get there's some parents with the bully mentality. You will do what I say, but I just don't like the way it was presented. I didn't like it at all. It's just some like if they're going to be the bully parent, then you gotta set that up right as being someone that is always disagreeable, who's never wrong, that type of thing. But
Yeah.
they put like they had like good family dinners. She was happy to see him. Wasn't really correcting about anything else, and then boom,
Drops the hammer.
right? And you're just like, what? Where did this come from? Right? And you got to explain these things, like especially like I don't know. There's just I think maybe they wanted to express like there's probably reasons why they did what they did. They're expressing the character in the way that they thought felt true to them, but because of the dialogue, I don't think it was brought out. So for me, I was just looking at it going like, this is none of this makes sense. I don't like. It's not like I don't get it. I get the plot. I get all of that stuff. What doesn't make sense is the interactions and the story progression. Right? It just doesn't. I didn't get it. Right? So I don't know why he was killing all those people anyways. Like I thought he was only
I
supposed to
was
be.
just about to bring that up because I was so surprised you hadn't mentioned it yet because you always have that thing. You want to know what the rules are.
Yeah. But
And
and
like,
yeah, so I was just so distracted. Like, well, we were talking about all the other things first, but I was definitely getting around to that. Like, I have it noted. Like, why was he killing all these people if they didn't take anything from the cave? Like, I
yeah,
don't,
like it's
I don't
it's
get
just
it.
like if something gets taken, you and all of your family members and all your friends get killed,
Like,
and anyone who tries to like communicate with you.
because it does make. You know how big that circle could get. Now you're killing an
Yeah.
entire city. Like, like this is these are how pandemics spread, right? Like, when you're thinking about viruses and the way they spread, it's exactly like that. Whoever you come in contact with is now by the rules, could be potentially infected. Is that how this works in this movie?
Well,
Anytime
no,
these people talk to
it
anyone else,
isn't. It
like
isn't though, because in the opening scene, John, just the two boys die. Their families don't die because you later see the mom or the grandma handing out the missing posters.
yeah, right. So like, does it only work if he brings the news back to them? Like once again, I don't know. I don't
And
know.
did she get her wish? I don't think she did.
I don't know. Like
Yeah,
she left an offering, and it was only the one guy that took two things. So I don't get it. I don't get it. So it just
yeah.
and then like they're talking, and then the seance lady, like, oh, he's the devil, or so he's a demon, he's a devil, or he's this blacksmith that killed people in the 1800s. Which one is he?
Oh, I didn't even pick up on that, but now that you mention it, I do remember that.
Well, like they're gonna get the blacksmith's tools to help with the seance and tie him back to his grave, which is kind of out of Nightmare on Elm Street 3, the Dream Warrior. But whatever. I was just kind of like, okay, well, which one is he? Is he Kushma? Is Kushma the devil? Is he Beelzebub? Like, what is he? Or is he this blacksmith that was killing women in the 1800s? And so, which one is he? And which one is it going to work to finally put him away? I don't know, man. I just, it's like, I felt, I just feel a little frustrated because once again, the direct like there was potential here with the skills in utilizing the camera and the cinematography and putting this stuff together and the acting. Like there's skills here. There's some potential here, but it really like the main point, like the main strut or the support, the story itself was just faulty.
And you know what that reminds me of a little bit, John? We had similar issues with Ghost in the Graveyard,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for
where,
sure.
where it's like, well, this has good production value. This has some good actors, but it's just like there's just some things that just don't make sense.
Yeah, yeah, and they
And
never
and
do, right?
they never do. But even with all that, as I said, I personally like the ending sequence where the mom gets lured away and they get kind of separated, and the one guy thinks there's a snake around his neck and goes to like cut the snake away and ends up cutting his own throat. Like I thought these were like kind of clever, like kind of suspenseful, like a terrifying sequence. And then I did like the very end where it's the unhappy ending where Koshmar kind of has Devon in whatever you want to call it, the purgatory or the spiritual world or something like that.
Hmm.
I thought that was a cool ending. Now again, it wasn't enough to redeem the issues in the movie throughout, but I will give it its due that I liked that part.
Yeah.
Nothing for you?
No.
Maybe I just have a soft spot where like I enjoy it when movies don't like the good guy doesn't win. Like I like the a diverse ending that way sometimes.
Well, no, and we've talked about that before, which is why you like the Descent UK version better, right? So,
Yeah.
I know where you're coming from, and I agree with you to a certain extent, but like this borrowed from too many different ideas that I've seen 100 times before. Not that we all borrow from each other. All creative people borrow from each other. It's not an issue. It just needs to be presented in a more creative, or a new way, or a fascinating way, or in a way you weren't expecting it. And um, I could have, like, probably 10 minutes out, I could have probably written the entire ending and how things are gonna go. Right? It's just I didn't it didn't I wasn't yeah I have nothing to say about it.
Well, uh, you don't have much more to say, and I don't have anything as far as Rotten Tomato scores because this movie hasn't been officially released yet. We were sent the screener because we were going to do it on the podcast here. It's not official, doesn't officially come out until June 30th. It was supposed to be released earlier this month, but got pushed back with the whole backlog that was created from by COVID-19 and everything like that.
Yep.
It's going to be available on a whole ton of digital platforms, cable, Blu-ray, some of the different digital platforms you can watch it on here. I'll just quickly list some: AT&T, Amazon Prime, Hulu, Vudu, Vimeo, YouTube TV, and a whole bunch of others. So again, don't just take mine and John's word for it. Check this movie out yourself. And I can't say it enough that if you are that aspiring filmmaker, you need to be watching as many of these types of movies as you can to see what worked, what didn't work.
Absolutely. That goes for any movie if you're an aspiring filmmaker. Like you can learn a lot from any film that you watch, and whatever works for you, you can incorporate. That's for sure. And turn aside what you think doesn't work. But and Kyle's absolutely right. Like our opinion is not the end all and be all. Like it's not even close. It's just our opinion, and we try to present it in a reasonable way. So I'm not just going to say I don't like something and not give a reason why. And you
Yeah,
can agree or disagree with my reasoning or not, and that's totally up to you. And if this is something, because Kyle did give you a plot outline at the very beginning, so if it's something that you'd be interested in and normally would watch, then by all means do so.
I I, I completely agree with you. Well, buddy, anything else to add on this one?
Nope.
Well, folks, with that, why don't I tell you about the next movie we're going to do?
Do it.
Uh, we have been doing a ton of zombie movies lately, so we thought we would do another zombie movie. Rob Zombie, that is. House of a Thousand Corpses.
Yes.
If you haven't seen this movie, it's currently streaming on Amazon Prime Video, that is. Check it out. This movie is not for the faint of heart. I'll say
Ooh.
that. And we're really going to get into this one next week. All I can say is that don't watch this movie if you're queasy.
Well, it's Rob Zombie, so that's really all you need to know. For there's going to be some dark moments and gruesome moments and moments that might not sit well with your stomach.
Exactly. So no. So check this out. Join us next week so we can talk about it. And to be honest, John, I can't believe that we haven't done a Rob Zombie movie yet because I really do like him as a filmmaker.
Yeah, so do I. And this kind of opens the door for that, right? House of a Thousand Corpses, and Three from Hell, and then the latest one in the trilogy here. So we might get around to all of them.
Maybe Halloween remake.
Maybe. Oh yeah, that you know what? Yeah, that's true. That's true. The like I really liked his Halloween 2 actually. His Halloween 2 was really good. But yeah.
I like both. I like both of them. But for next
Mhm.
week, House of a Thousand Corpses.
All right.
Well, folks, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, check out our Facebook page, and follow us on both Twitter and Instagram at Damn Movies. We want to hear what you thought of today's podcast and any suggestions you have, especially in terms of what movies you'd like us to discuss next. Send us an email to moviesofthedamned@gmail.com. Please also check out John's full-length novels. His first two novels, Dollhouse and The Tracker, are Amazon bestsellers. You can also order his novella Balance, his book of short stories, Four Shots of Horror, and his newest novel, Off the Grid, all right now available on Amazon. For further details on John's other published works, please visit his blog, johnhuntfiction.wordpress.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. Stay safe and be kind.